Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Martin, and tonight we are talking about time travel and what if. The Winchesters played around a lot with here, there, and everywhere. And so let's talk a little bit about that and how it turned out for them. But first, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and I started watching Supernatural when that very first episode aired, and I watched it until that last episode just made me cry.
Lola?
My name's Lola Lariscy. I'm a writer, and I've been watching Supernatural since I was 33 years old, something like that. That's a long time. I was just a baby.
And I'm Gail.
Still a baby.
I'm Gail Z. Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But all my modern day worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. I fell in love with the show halfway through season 11, binge watched 11 seasons in time for the start of season 12, fell down the rabbit hole, and haven't seen the light of day ever since. Hope I never do. So, time travel. We got a lot of Winchester mucking around with time. And we got to meet family members. We got to experience things from pivotal moments from the guy's past. So let's just start with name a time travel episode. We'll save the what ifs for later, unless it ties into your time travel story. So pick a time travel episode that you liked, and we'll just work our way through them. Elektra?
Okay, the very best of them, Lebanon, where dad gets to come forward in time and they all get to have family dinner together, Sam and Dean and Mary and John. And they put aside any differences they have and they have a happy family dinner of what might have been. It's what if and time travel. And John just has a happy memory of a dream of what might have been. It is without fail one of my absolute favorite episodes. It's about what your heart's desire is, whether you know it or not. It brings John into the future without him really realizing that, he doesn't make it that far. It's just, and, Mary had passed and now she's back. It's joyful.
Okay. Lola?
My favorite of all time for the time travel is My Heart Will Go On. There are so many reasons. I love the actor who plays, is it Balthazar?
Yeah.
Balthazar.
He was in a show I loved called Odyssey 5 from like 25 years. I love that dang show.
Me
And
too.
I'm
Peter
still
Weller.
Yeah, I'm still upset 25 years later that it was canceled. I'm like, I've got it
Hey,
on DVD. One
Me,
of the
me and
actors,
you.
yeah, one of the
We're the
actors,
big fans of Odyssey 5.
I loved Odyssey 5 and I wanted to see how it ended. But anyway, so I knew him first from there. And so I'm like, I just love seeing him. And he's so funny. His character is so funny. He does this because he hates that song. And I can relate. In 1998, I worked at a video store. And they had, TV monitors up, and they would play the little outtake thing from Titanic on a loop. I kept hearing Celine's voice going, "Her heart will go on forever and ever," and I'm like, "Shut that bitch up." I'm like, I thought Canadians were nice. She makes me want to punch her. Anyways, no violence, no violence. I'm a peaceful person. But anyways, I got Balthazar. I got it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we'll save thousands of people. And it would have worked, except for fates, whatever, who died and made them goddesses. Well, I guess they've always been goddesses. But anyways, so it was just really awesome and just so funny. And they say, Celine Dion, she's a destitute lounge singer somewhere in Quebec. So we were all spared. It's so awesome. and we got to see Ellen and Bobby together. That's a what if, I guess. He seems happy, she's happy. It's actually a perfect match. I never thought about it to that moment. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, it was just a funny episode, and we got to think what happened if all those people didn't die. But fate's had something else in mind.
I'm going to go with Frontierland.
Okay.
I mean, watching the guys get to be cowboys was hysterical. And
And pretend they couldn't ride.
pretend they couldn't ride. Yeah, I mean, both of these guys grew up in Texas. Of course they could ride, but that scene with Sam riding across the horizon horribly, he must have had to try, Jared had to try really hard to ride a horse that badly.
Yeah.
Um, Dean's comment is that poor horse. But yes, pretending they couldn't ride. And of course, we meet Samuel Colt, and Dean finds out that the Wild West is not exactly like he thought it was from the movies.
Mhm.
And it's just a really nice romp with, you know, the pivotal issue of finding the Colt.
Mhm.
Back to you, Elektra.
Okay, as time goes by the way, Frontierland and as time goes by, sorry, Frontierland and My Heart Will Go On were both on my list.
Okay.
I think we're going to have a lot of crossover. I'm going with As Time Goes By, which is in season 8, and we finally get to solve the mystery of why Grandpa Henry just walked out on Dad. And apparently it was because he came to the future to help out his grandsons. Well, he was fleeing a demon, but he ended up helping out his grandsons and solving a problem for them. And he introduced them to the men of letters, and he pointed them in the direction of the bunker. So they finally had a home base that they deserved, and Dean could nest. And it's such a wonderful, pivotal episode. And so very, very cool. It's one I never skip watching. I adore it. Just so much good stuff in there. The carving of the devil's trap on the bullets.
Mhm.
All that comes from that episode. Henry is just so cool.
Yeah, and we had a conversation. I had a conversation with a couple other fans, wondering whether or not Sam and Dean told John when he came forward at Lebanon, by the way, your dad didn't abandon you, or that whether that would be one of those "don't mess with the past or you'll screw up the future" kind of things.
He's already dead. So why would that matter? I mean, John Winchester's already dead, so.
But he went
And
back
he
to
didn't remember it.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
You're right, he didn't remember. Okay.
Lawrence, Kansas was on the news this weekend, and
Oh,
all I could think was, that's Lawrence, Kansas.
yeah,
I know people from Lawrence, Kansas.
sort of. Yeah.
Fun to
um,
see.
Lola.
All right, so I love all of those, but I'm gonna do Time After Time. First of all, it has one of the dudes from Veronica Mars, always a win. Thank you, CW in the house. Uh, and they go back in time, and I, I'm I have a thing for that whole Elliot Ness and what's his name? That he forgot his name already. The gangster that he got.
Al
Anyway,
Capone.
yeah, Capone, Al Capone. And of course, Elliot Ness is played from the dude from the X-Files. So I'm just all like, they got all my pressure points. They got it all. And I'm like, I can't move. I got Veronica Mars. I got X-Files. I'm like, I can't move. Help. So it was just awesome. I was like, yes. And I just love the 40s look. It's very Dick Tracy looking. And of course, in the present, you have Sam and Jody doing stuff. So it's not all back in the time, but it's just really neat because Dean's all like, "Oh my God, you're Elliot Ness," and I'm like, "Oh my God, you're Elliot Ness," but you're also the guy from the X Files. Oh my God! So just a lot of oh my God going on.
Okay. I'm going to go with, geez. I just lost my place. Time after time. And this is where Gabriel makes a time loop trying to teach Sam a lesson. It never works well when you try to teach a Winchester a lesson. And is trying to teach him that no matter what he does, he can't get Dean out of his deal. And Sam listens about as well as you'd expect a Winchester to do this. And we also get to see kind of a warning of, later on we see Soulless Sam and we see various versions of a hardcore Sam. We haven't really seen that Sam up till now, but when Gabriel sends him, you know,
Okay,
has him,
that's not time after
that's not
time.
time after
Yeah, I was
time.
Is that,
confused
are you
'cause
thinking
time after
Mystery
time is what
Spot?
I did.
I'm sorry.
Are you thinking Mystery Spot?
I'm thinking Mystery Spot. Sorry.
I was like,
It's okay. I have every one of these on my list, so you
And
are
Mystery
not
Spot, I
making
guess, is,
this easy.
I'm sorry, but you're right. It's Mystery Spot, and I guess that's questionable about whether that's a hallucination or actual time travel.
It's
Um,
actual time travel because when they finally get out of it, time has passed in the real world and more than a day.
okay. Well, thank you very much. So yes, Mystery Spot. Because we really get to see badass Sam and we start getting a real idea of just how far the brothers will go for each other. And it basically means they'll burn down the world. So good show. Elektra, back to you.
In the beginning, this is where Dean goes back to Lawrence, Kansas in 1973. Now I know what it looks like, at least in the present day. And he gets to meet John and Mary when they're younger, and Samuel. And he finds out that his mother and her family are hunters. Didn't know that little detail because, it was something they kept secret. And he finds out that Azazel had been around back then. And this is the whole thing about Azazel killing Samuel and Dina, grandma and grandpa. And then he kills John, and Mary makes a deal with him to get John back. And that takes us back to the pilot, where now we know why Sam is doing his little thing and drinking the demon blood as a baby, because they went back and explained it now in the beginning of season 4. They decided maybe we ought to explain why this family is cursed.
yeah, she did it so she could keep her husband. A+ parenting.
Well, so she could have her husband. And she thought that aside from letting her baby drink some demon blood, maybe she'd be able to have kind of like some semblance of a home life.
I guess.
Maybe she thought the demon would forget, or she'd find a way out of it, or that was in the future, maybe it would, let's just push off until tomorrow.
That's
She's
tomorrow's problem.
yeah.
Like,
She may have married a Winchester, but she came by it honestly.
yeah, well, I mean, it's like the kids today that are just using all these apps to buy now and pay later.
It'll come
It,
up
I'll
eventually.
worry about that tomorrow.
Yeah, this Crowley.com said that I can pay in 10 payments over the course of 10 years.
That's right.
So,
Lola, how about you?
All you need to do is give him something that might not even exist.
That's
yeah,
right.
who knows? Maybe they don't have a soul. Well, they won't after that. Okay, so we're gonna go with the vessel. It's more timey-wimey, 1940 stuff. It's the USS Bluefin. Dean suggests it's going back in time, and he thinks it'll be okay because the ship sinks anyway. So who knows what really happened? Okay, but gods and angels and stuff, they know. Anyways, yeah, and I like it because it reminds me of an X-Files episode where Mulder goes back to a ship. He goes back in time to a, World War II ship. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I love it. Yeah, yeah, so that's just basically it. I like the aesthetic.
We haven't covered the end yet, right? This is Dean with a thyroid holster. Okay? I'm just saying, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. The angels are screwing with them. This is when Sam and Dean are not getting along well, and they've separated. And Dean gets messed with by the angels and sent to a post-apocalyptic version of the future where, he and Sam never got back together again. And the angels are trying to teach him a lesson. But being a Winchester, Dean doesn't learn the lesson the angels are trying to teach him. He realizes that, you know, he shouldn't separate from Sam. They're stronger together than apart. So once again, the angels actually end up pushing them back together again when their intention was to reinforce the idea that they should be apart. But um, it's just shot really well. The combat scenes are fantastic. And did I mention the thigh rig? It's memorable. Do we have any more time travel episodes left?
A few, but I'm having trouble remembering some of them. There's the Gavin McLeod stuff where they bring Gavin McLeod up, which I think is funny because they hate each other. Huh?
Well, there are actually two episodes
Yeah.
that have to do with Gavin.
Mm.
Anybody want to touch those? That would be uh,
I'm trying to remember, and
well, there's the first one where where
okay.
Gavin gets brought forward.
That's more of a ghost. Wasn't one of them more of a ghost? They brought the
All
ghost.
right.
Yeah.
King of the Damned, and then Family Feud.
Yeah. King of the Damned is where they got Gavin McLeod because because Abaddon wanted to use him as leverage because she thought, oh, I'll threaten to kill his son. And he's like, I hate the little bloody. He might have said a word that British people can say, but we can't say. I don't remember. But yeah, and then they just end up yelling at each other. They hated each other. So that backfired. I thought that was funny.
Well, yeah, yes and no, because Abaddon, after they kill Abaddon, Sam and Dean want to send Gavin back because they want to avoid, ripples on events. And Crowley knows Gavin is going to die soon in the past, and so he escapes with Gavin and leaves him in the present day, but says he never wants to see him again. So
Forgot
kind of
about that.
saves his life, but
Okay.
strands him in a
That could be an
familiar
ego thing, like, "Oh, this is my spawn, he must live on." Mm.
Right, but oh, there's that whole thing with Gavin who wants to do the honorable thing and go back to the ship.
Oh, okay.
Well, and that's in Family Feud where um, the ripple in time thing, because he got taken, was that his fiance snuck
Yeah.
aboard the ship trying to find him, but he's not there, and really bad things happen to her when she's discovered, and then she becomes a vengeful spirit. So Sam and Dean send Gavin back, which changes time back to its original story, and bad things never happen to Fiona, and Gavin dies on the ship. Um, and all of the things that Fiona as a ghost did go away because they never happened.
Happy endings. Doesn't happen a lot.
Sort of.
Yeah.
All
I mean, they're
those
both dead, but they would've been dead anyways. Huh.
Well, yeah, 1723, they kind of would
It's a
be.
while back.
So let's talk about alternate universe, unless somebody else has another one from the time travel that we've missed.
I think we've hit all the time travel ones. Well, pseudo alternate universe, Live Free or Twy Hard, where we get a really good look about Dean as a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what it might have been like. We get a really close look and all the thoughts about what's going to happen. I mean, it's unfortunate that we also have Soulless Sam, but that's just really, really close. And we can contrast that with how Gordon dealt with it, which was poorly.
Yep. Lola?
Get me, please, because I'm still, like, looking online since I didn't do my homework.
Well, I'm going to say the Scooby-Doo episode,
Okay.
Scooby Natural, because the guys get pulled into Scooby-Doo, and they're animated characters, Sam, Dean, and Cass. They interact and solve a mystery with the Scooby Gang. So that I think it's really one of my favorites because they did justice to both series, both Supernatural and Scooby Doo. They animated it well. They treated the Scoobyverse with respect. And of course, Dean is absolutely thrilled to be there and keeps trying to hit on Daphne, who is with Fred. And Velma keeps trying to hit on Sam. And Cass just is kind of lost and chases the Impala. And he and Scooby kind of end up hanging out together. But it's a lot of fun. And they did right by both groups. So, Elektra?
It is a lot of fun. They Sam and Dean do all right here. But when you throw them out of their element, they do all right, but there is, some confusion. So there's two episodes that highlight that. One is Wayward Sisters, where they're in the bad place, and the other one is The French Mistake, where they're like fish out of water, but they sure do like spending that money.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
the
there's a llama in the backyard.
the French Mistake. I always thought the world they go to seems like it might be our world,
Oh yeah. Oh, it absolutely
which I
is.
love.
It's
Yeah,
just there are people playing the people that run the show.
yeah. Bill Murray's brother, Brian Doyle Murray, plays Bobby Singer, which just I love that. And whenever I read anything about Bob Singer, I imagine Brian Doyle Murray doing it. So, like, I was just reading something about how um, Eric Kripke and the other guy, I think his name is Ben, they went to Bob Singer to try to explain time travel to him, and it didn't go well. And finally, they said that Bob was like, "And you're going to explain this to the audience when?" And I just imagine Brian Doyle Murray saying that in my head, and I was like, "I got to remember that's not actually what Bob Singer looks like." One day, I'm going to try to figure out what Bob Singer looks like, so that I can kind of get his
Well,
face.
and they had somebody playing McGee and all the
Yeah,
other people involved
Yeah.
in this, and they had Misha playing a really obnoxious version of himself.
which it seems like that may actually be kind of how he is.
No, he was deliberately like
I know,
dialing it up to 11.
I know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah.
Which-
It's like,
Lola, did
guys.
you find one?
Um, well, I had a thought in my head, but it went away.
Oh,
Okay.
I know. So
Keep
come back
thinking.
to me.
Okay. How about Oz? We get to see it twice in Slumber Party and There's No Place Like Home. And or at least we get to see that there's a portal from the bunker into Oz. And unfortunately, it goes both ways. Dorothy and Charlie can go off into Oz, but the Wicked Witch can come from Oz.
well,
So
it's not from the bunker. It's any place where you have that
the
key.
key.
It's the wonderful Oz key they came up with. Congratulations to Props. That was a beautiful key.
Mhm. It just happened to be in
Binding
the
force
bunker
of all
where
predator
they were this
males.
time. So yeah, we got to see we got to see Oz. Sorry.
It looked like something that oh gosh, the original illustrator for
Yes.
Oz would have drawn.
Oh, yeah, it was very pretty, very fanciful. Follow the yellow brick road. It really reminded me of like how I felt when I watched the movie. I was like, "Oh my God, the yellow brick road is so cool. Oh my God."
Elektra.
Oh. We're riding into the dregs now. Apocalypse World. I've been trying desperately to figure out where we first came across that, other than right when Jack was born. And
All along the watchtower.
ah,
Okay.
there it is. Okay, I can dig that out.
I pulled up the Super Wiki. I cheated.
Ah,
Yeah, I'm on that too.
But there are 10 Apocalypse World episodes. All
And
along the
there
watchtower,
it is. But
Lost and Found, The Rising Sun, War of the Worlds, Bad Place, which you mentioned, Good Intentions, Bring 'em Back Alive, Unfinished
the
Business,
bad place
Benevolent Exodus.
isn't Apocalypse World. It's the world where the girl with
Dream Universe,
the
right?
the
Kaya.
is from.
Kaya.
Yeah, Kaya.
Yeah, that's the bad place. But Apocalypse World, right? I should have searched on Apocalypse World.
Yeah, Super Wiki put it under both, so blame Super Wiki.
Right. Lost and
It's
Found
just
is probably the first place where they really dig in, I think.
Okay.
Um, although they're mostly chasing Jack around. But Apocalypse World is such a great place, and they shoot it so wonderfully. And over the course of those episodes, we find alternative versions of people we love and redemption for, oh gosh, the Mr. What's his name that we go to, that the men of letters from Britain go to when there's issues. Mr. Ketch.
Mm-hmm.
He finds his redemption there. And we discover that angels may be dicks in our world, but in Apocalypse World, they've taken it to a whole nother level. Like, who needs demons in a world where the angels have just decided they're going to kill everybody
They're hostile.
for no apparent reason that we can discover? It's they don't like eat people the way vampires do, and they don't want people to worship them. So for no reason, they've gone batty and they've just decided they're killing everybody. They want to turn the world into a barren wasteland.
They're jealous of us because they think God loved us better or something. I don't know. And then God left, and they're like, it's because of the humans. God left because of the humans.
Well, and for whatever reasons, they've decided, let's do it.
No
And
regard.
they are no longer even like at the level of just annoying dicks.
Yeah. They're definitely the villain of the piece in that case.
So you need you need really good heavy arms, and you need to be willing to strike first and ask questions later.
Lola?
Well, I was looking because I remember it throughout the course of the later seasons, they would say all the different alternate worlds, and some of them were really funny. So I was trying to find some of the ones we never actually saw, but that were just mentioned. So there's an alternate universe that's made of squirrels. So I want to see that. Um, shoot, I lost the other ones. All right, never mind. Come back to me.
Okay. Well, there's fairy. We see the fairy realm in Clap Your Hands If You Believe and
Yes,
LARP
that's
and the Real
right.
Girl.
That was cool. I like that. I want to spend some time in fairy world, but don't make them do anything.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It doesn't seem particularly friendly.
They've you go back to real fairy tales. It's not
Yeah, that's true. It
really
was
a
not nice.
nice place, but
Yeah.
you get to see Charlie and the Queen of Fairy. And as she tells Dean, if the tent's rocking, don't come a knocking.
I was rooting for those two kids.
Which since I brought that up, maybe we should mention tentacle porn land as as the wiki calls it, which is the thing. The tentacled cosmic deities. We don't know much about their universe except that they ate it. But Dean, may have learned that some things in fiction need to stay in fiction and they aren't really nearly as interesting when you meet them for real. Um,
There is that, yeah.
there is that. Elektra?
Um, the big empty, where we run into, the empty, who's extremely annoyed by Castiel, who apparently is perfectly willing to chat with it until the empty is ready to get rid of him just to shut him up, and makes a distressing bargain. But
Okay.
that's quite the place.
We have a couple more here in this list, and I've got to admit I don't remember them quite as well, so chime in if you do. And that's Chuck's different endings. He had several possible endings that he mentioned that get mentioned in the trap, with alternate reality Sam's and Dean's, and alternate Benny's and Lucifer's and Jody's and Bobby's. And these are the Back into the Future, Atomic Monsters, and Proverbs 17:3 episodes. They're all the endings that writer Chuck thought about and decided not to go with. Any comments about any of those?
I wonder if that's where Squirrel World came in, because I saw it somewhere. I'm like, Squirrel World, I
We
don't
talked about a number of them,
Yeah.
I
and,
remember.
and they never showed us much. He just talked about them.
I think they were meant to be funny, like all these crazy things, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah. There's also Hunter Corp,
Mm-hmm.
The
the
Richesters. I love
Winchesters.
that so much.
I'm pretty convinced that one of those versions of them living happily ever after was the one that was the Winchesters TV show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That the Richesters might have been John and Mary going off into the sunset for Mary to go to college, and John getting really interested in hunting that early. I think that was the beginnings of Hunter Corp.
Mm-hmm.
Can't prove it, but
Well, and then you've got what the wiki calls Earth 2 that shows up in Galaxy Brain. Galaxy
Quite
Brain
right.
also shows up as the bad place,
Yeah.
under the bad place. But this is one where Chuck, wipes the slate clean except for the Winchester's world. And it's different because there are two moons in the sky. Hillary Clinton is president.
and he's sitting around in a Radio Shack,
Yeah,
I remember the Radio Shack.
eating
or the equivalent.
eating junk food and destroying other universes and watching it all on the TV screen
His shows. He loves his shows. He said that before.
with
Yeah.
one poor minion that he has
Him
spared.
and Murderbot.
Yep.
They all love their shows.
Yeah. Oh, I love Murderbot. Oh my God. I think that's what made me think of it. I love it. That's on Apple TV Plus now. I love it to death. Anyway, so yeah, Hunter Corp universe and Earth 2. Yeah, this sounds kind of neat because like we're combating climate change but then it's destroyed by a meteor shower. Womp womp womp. Thanks, Chuck. He's a toddler.
And since it did come up, does the Winchester spin-off show count as an alternate universe? Because there were some definite differences between their history and what we saw with Supernatural. What do you think?
Oh, it has to be because the whole origin story is different. So, but I don't know if it's one of the alternate universes that we've seen. Could it have been Hunter Court maybe since they were together? But they never had Sam and Dean, right? That was the whole point. Is that
Well,
right?
they didn't yet. They were still college age.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, they could well have had kids, but with, it was quite likely they could.
Mhm.
I choose to believe those were the Richesters, but it could have been any world. It was just a world where they might have been happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Flash movie.
Mm-hmm.
Why this world? This is the world where my mother is alive.
Yeah.
This is the happy world
Yeah.
where John and Mary survive and Mary gets out. And
Mhm.
maybe John keeps his hand in and makes it a profitable business
No old yellow eyes.
with his cool friends who
Mhm.
were so cool.
I liked his friends. I
Yeah.
liked that whole thing.
They were awesome. They were
Yeah.
a great cast and they were different enough from Supernatural to be really interesting.
Mhm.
I wanted to find out more about what happened. I
Yeah,
liked the guy.
I know fandom had mixed feelings, but I liked it. I mean, it doesn't replace having more Sam and Dean, but it was good.
Now I was mad at first because it was wrong with the origin, but I think maybe Gail, you or somebody told me no, it's supposed to be an alternate universe. I'm like,
Well,
oh,
Sam
okay.
told us that sorry, Dean told us that in
Yeah.
the last episode. It
Yeah.
Oh,
became clear it was a different universe. And then, okay, we're good. But
yeah.
this leaves room for us still to get more Supernatural if the guys want to.
Yeah.
It's just
Great.
too bad there weren't more seasons of that too. I want to have my cake and eat it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Having more of the Winchesters would not have precluded from Jared and Jensen going back and doing, you know, more supernatural stuff.
Filling in that 5-year gap.
Yeah,
Right.
that 5-year
Which
gap.
something they'll do.
Um,
Well,
and filling in more of the universe
mm-hmm.
would have been great.
Mhm.
There's a lot of space in that universe.
Yeah.
Tales of the Queen of Hell.
Yeah.
I would love to see what happens to Rowena after she takes her place down under, and I don't mean Australia. Yeah, that would have been cool.
I think that would be I mean, they could at least do like a mini series, like
Yeah.
10 episodes of Rowena cleans up hell and makes it, a decent place to end up.
Makes it
Yeah.
fair, you're here because you did something really wrong, not
And
because
I'm going to make sure that you're a better person now.
I like that. Reform in hell. Okay.
Well, and therein, if we're going to talk about alternate universes, got to at least give a wave to fan fiction has been running on the idea of alternate universes, both for Sam and Dean and for Jared and Jensen. So if you love your alternate universes, you'll find plenty of them to explore in fan fiction.
It's a good way to write something you think was wrong. It's like, I don't like that they did it. Well, I'm gonna make my own ending.
I mean,
Fiction in all universes, yes.
presumably they could have explored like, Dean not coming back from hell
Yeah.
and Sam not coming back and Dean living happily ever after and getting restless
Mhm.
and going off and doing something, and the Campbells not being possessed by demons.
Mhm.
There's all sorts of great alternatives that you could have wandered off in.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, and I'm sure at some point we'll talk about them or they'll come up. But right now we're out of time. So before we wrap up, let's let our panelists tell you where you can find them online. Electra?
You can find me at untilmidnight.com. I do most of my socials on Mastodon or Blue Sky, and look for me on Mastodon at 7 o'clock on Mondays, where for an hour we answer random questions under the hashtag WriteFant. And I've got a new book out.
Yay!
Permutations, new stories from Jack Chalker's Well World, now available on Amazon and wherever you get your books. Hey,
Congratulations. Lola?
Please. My name's Lola Lariscy. I'm a writer, and I have a book that I published about a month or so ago called Soul Pushers. It's a paranormal YA book, but I don't think it's just for YA. I think it can be for any age. And I think Melissa would be unhappy if I didn't say this, but I did Google Lola Lariscy recently. Still mostly me, a few dead old ladies, and a few dead old men. I don't quite know how that happened, but hey, welcome to the fold, male Lola Larissies. Bring
And
up the
I'm
spook.
And I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com. If you spell them right, you'll find me on pretty much all the major social medias, although I'm mostly on Facebook. I run the Supernatural TFWNC group on Facebook, and have a lot of supernatural stuff on my YouTube channel, but mostly you can find me here on Continual. So thank you both so much for being fantastic panelists, and thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more supernatural coming up on Continual, so we'll see you online.